Your fitness business podcast snapshot. Leading during a crisis, keeping your staff focused during a crisis, and communication for everyone. All of that and more coming up in today's episode. You're listening to the fitness industry's leading fitness business podcast for owners and managers, where each week we provide an educational platform for our listeners. Our guests come from all around the world to share their expert advice, tips, and knowledge with you, the FBP family. This month's interviews are brought to you by MyZone. Welcome, everyone, to the Fitness Business Podcast. I am your host, Dory Nugent. Now, today's episode is number 334, and our guest is UFC Gym owner and founder, Adam Sedlack. But before we hear from Adam, we first need to hear a message from our podcast partner, MyZone. MyZone is the industry's leading wearable technology platform that drives engagement and provides personal feedback and motivation through gamification, wherever your members choose to work out. Go digital to provide a hybrid offering. Your members will love you for it. Learn more at myzone.org. In today's episode, Adam discusses the tools and tactics that he finds success in when communicating to his team during a crisis. As we all know, communication brings people together, closer to one another. And Adam has experienced this firsthand when the pandemic hit. So, without further ado, Adam Sedlack. FBP family, welcome back for another episode. Our guest this week is Adam Sedlack. He is the president of the UFC Gyms. They are in 37 countries, 152 locations. There's 850 locations in development. He started with Family Fitness in 1994, and then I believe Family Fitness got acquired by 24 Hours Fitness. Adam, welcome to the show. Did I get my facts correct?
I cannot believe it, Dory. You hit it on the head. Yes. Good to see you, and it's great to be here.
Very nice to have you on the show today. I'm really excited about our topic, and that is who is really counseling your team through a crisis. You got a lot of locations out there. You are definitely counseling a lot of people and counseling a lot of people during a very challenging and difficult time.
Yeah, no, that's for sure. And the general rule of, when you go through challenges like this is you really got to understand your audience, right? And we have a lot of audiences at UFC. We have our franchisees, we have our master franchise partners internationally, and we have our team members, and we have our customers. And in every situation, in every relationship, we owe very, very good counsel. And it's through transparency and hopefully honesty that we can provide that counsel to hopefully allow others to live their life to the fullest through any sort of adversity.
Listen, if there is one thing that I have, and I don't know if I want to say learned, but I've just probably have heard over and over again, that the boutiques, gyms, teams that seem to have kind of risen up through this pandemic is because of good communication and how important it is to have the leader communicating the message out and making everybody feel like it's going to be okay. We're going to make it through this.
Yeah, I can't speak in all circumstances, but I've, in the world that I'm in fitness, I've definitely seen some companies that maybe did not handle things in an ideal way. And listen, we're all going through it, aren't we? All of us. And it's not just the fitness industry, it's restaurants, it's theaters, there's a lot of service-based businesses that are really creating an impact. And I learned a long time ago that you have to control what you can control, and what you can't control, you got to do as good a job as possible to try to make sure that the right thing is being done. And you really can't fail if your North Star is just doing the right thing. And again, it goes back to the transparency, and it goes back to the communication, and it goes back to identifying what is that North Star, and how do you bring everybody with you in your journey to accomplish that destination. And if you err on the side of just making sure that you trust your team that you hired and that you picked, and you can provide them some very clear next steps and help and support through this incredible journey that we're on together, generally the right result will end up happening.
Yeah, I have a question for you. You have a large team, and you are in communication. It's not your first rodeo here. Were you surprised at some of the leaders that stepped up that unexpectedly, and you're like, oh my God, they're doing such a great job? Did you see some of your employees do that?
You know what? It's Dory. It's a great observation, and you know what was really interesting is the name tag. It didn't matter if the name tag said vice president, president, GM, maintenance tech, janitor. Really didn't matter. We have been seeing people in our clubs stand up and do work that has just inspired me like no other, because when I think back in LA where we're opening some clubs, and literally I had 3 of my maintenance techs, it felt like they worked 72 hours straight, and all they wanted to do was try to do the right thing for the people that they reported to. And I was watching them, and I was self-medicating myself with my own personal thoughts, thinking that if everybody had the same attitude to aggressively help others, how much more simplistic life would be. And yeah, so I saw people rise to the occasion. I've been seeing people rise to the occasion. The majority of everybody that I have within my team have inspired me through this process. Certainly, you always reveal colors and character. What I have typically seen is those that are very, very self-serving, or it's all about them, are the last person to want to join the team. The people that understand to be great on a team means better for them long term are the people that have stood apart and become leaders through this process.
I've seen that happen. And I've also seen where some people just don't do well in a crisis situation. They don't do well under pressure. They could be amazing leaders day in and day out when it's normal, things are rolling fine and smoothly. And then any type of crisis that happens, they just shrink.
Well, I mean, and, one of the things that we have to consider is people generally are either discretional or lack discretion because we're all geared with emotions. And, you look at the last 6 months, all the things that we've been through as a community. We've had political chaos. We've had this COVID situation to deal with. We have people that are in a very difficult position economically. And often the majority of the population is stuck in the middle. And they're looking the sides at the extreme left and right who tend to be screaming incredibly loud, but not doing any listening. And it's sandwiching the majority of the population that's in the middle and putting them in a position where they don't know how to act. They don't know what to watch. They don't know what information to consume. And so it's difficult. It's a difficult place, and it's a difficult time, and everybody's reacting differently. And I understand it. I get it. I get when you throw in emotions in there, and then when you throw in the amount of content distribution that we're being fed from all these different sources, it's a very, very challenging time. And I would only say that find the 5 or 6 or 7 people that you trust the most and put them around you. Have that circle of association of trust that you can get real information from, and let that be your kind of your guide to get through this adversity.
hmm Now, we were talking a little bit before we actually started this interview, and you made a comment that I thought was great and fitting for what we're talking about right now, and that is leaders rise up during a crisis.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's an opportunity, right? I think when you have the key priorities that you stand for as a leader, and you don't necessarily have to have the title of a leader to be a leader. You have to have the ability to listen, understand, be empathetic, and be able to, through action, help others. And through helping others, leadership it begins to mold for itself. And so, yeah, I think now's the time that leaders have an opportunity to inspire others and to create pathways for them that they didn't know they were capable of. They can find the best version of themselves through just action and being involved and having an ear of transparency and connection to help people through this most difficult time.
Yeah, and Adam, you've been in the business a long time. Like I said, you started in 1994. So you've been in
It's not
charge.
that long, Dory. I mean, let's put it in come on, it's not like 80 years. It's a few years, not a long time.
Listen, I wasn't even born in 1994.
No, you weren't. Not at all. Impossible. That could not have happened.
What I wanted to say was you've had a lot of experience. How did that experience help you in this crisis? This crisis is new. Everybody was kind of feeling their way to figure out what's going to work, what's not going to work. How did your experience help you?
I actually think when we look back on this, and listen, since you're only 25 years old, you're going to be able to look back on it a lot longer than I will. But when we look back on this, we're going to have 2020 as the most defining year of our lifetime, because it forces reaction. And there's all sorts of adversity that we're all going through for the first time. We really are. And we're learning a lot about ourselves. We're learning how to listen, see, feel, and how that makes us react both emotionally and through different channels of communication based on the professional position you're in, or the responsibilities that you have. And I think it's okay to make mistakes. I think that's what we have to understand, is that if you're grounded to have an objective, to be empathetic and try to do the right thing, and know and believe in your value proposition as an organization, in your heart. Like, as an example, Dory, in my heart, I know that UFC Gym and UFC Fit at its core has one of the strongest value propositions that I've ever seen in the fitness business. I know it will hold through these unique times, these uncharted waters. I know we'll get through, but we have to have conviction around that value proposition and make sure that we continue to understand that as people of around the globe and throughout the U.S. and throughout all these different areas that we do business in, they're going through difficult times and going through difficult adversities and challenges. And as long as we can stay focused on where our journey is going to end up through these difficult waters, it's going to put us in position to thrive post-pandemic.
Yeah. And you know what? I love how you speak so highly about your staff and the leaders amongst your staff. I'd like to ask you, how did you get your staff? It's easy when they're in your building to keep them in control, keep them focused. But in the middle of the pandemic, the second that you leave, the media, and both on television, on the car ride home, on their phone, throws a lot of people in hysteria again. How did you keep that balance of getting them checked when they're in the building and then rechecked the next day?
First and foremost, I talk to my team about how we digest information, and what we choose to listen to will create this paradigm within yourself to be able to look at life a little bit differently. And once we establish that we can feed our own attitude, and we can put our mindset in a specific way that allows us to positively impact others, we've already accomplished something. And then it's about how do you communicate and how do you create that consistency of communication. So, we have this nice new platform called Microsoft Teams that before that, we were having one-off calls and Zoom calls, which is great. But what I found in the Microsoft Teams platform is the ability to not only have the right calls, but to share data, to be able to take it offline when it became a very big micro focus point and be able to elaborate on those data points. We brought in and enhanced our CRM system. We have a process that we all live by, which is making sure that we set ground rules of respect and empathy towards one another. And so it's not just about Adam getting on a phone and talking and making everybody digest the information that I'm providing them. It's really a dialogue and a conversation. And yes, I have to make the ultimate end decision of what I think is best for the organization. But if I'm a leader that is shut off to people providing me their recommendations and support, the ones that are in the field that are dealing with the adversity firsthand, is there any better opinion and perspective than that opinion? And where organizations sometimes fall short, Dory, is they like to make executive decisions from executive boardrooms. Nothing good can happen from that. It's making decisions from the ground, understanding it. And remember, we serve 3 different customers, don't we? Mm-hmm. We serve our members, we serve our team members, and we serve our board of directors. We serve the shareholders. And so we have to make sure we're able to make all 3 of those happy, but it's through transparency, it's through communication, it's through consistency and predictability, where we're not emotionally focusing on everything every day and we're all over the yard. So I think through that process and through consistency, you can establish a pretty good pathway of communication.
What I find so interesting about our generation, because I believe we are of just about the same exact age, is we're right in the middle when we are leaders of teams. We've got possibly some people on our team that are older, and then we obviously have some of the new younger generation, the leaders rising up through the industry. The levels of the forms of communication is so different for all of the generations. It's challenging. The older generation, they want a phone call. They can do email as well. But then that younger generation, they don't want to answer the phone. They want an app, Zoom meetings, or the Microsoft Teams. So did you find that to be challenging?
And they have different ways that they consume information, and they have different ways that they convey information outwardly. And we have to learn to speak their language. Mm-hmm. And that can be difficult. And yes, I have some people that don't even understand social media. They don't get it at all. I try to put it on their phones. I take their mobile phone. Sometimes it's a flip phone. And I actually put the app on their phone and say, and I set up an account for them. And I say, all you got to do is hit this button and check this app. But they just can't get their hands wrapped around it. Whereas others don't even, if I were to say, I'm going to give you a $10,000 if you can tell me what the white pages are, they wouldn't be able to answer me. And so I have to be able to have those different conversations with different people so they're properly motivated. If I don't speak their language, is it really fair to them? Of course, I can provide them feedback, and I can say through coaching sessions, and remember, when you coach and you're critical, you do it in private, and when you recognize, you do it in public. During those private coaching moments, we can say, hey, listen, in order for us to continue to expand and create different verticals of thinking, maybe you should test out and focus on how social media works or how texting works or what have you. So as you coach, you hopefully can continue to speak their language, but then hopefully new opportunities to speak to them differently will come to the table. And the other thing I would say to that, Dory, is you become who you're around. And if you put great people around yourself, you generally will rise to that occasion. So if I find somebody that maybe has old school tendencies of communication, if I put people around that person that have new school philosophies of communication, it may help that person rise to the occasion to look at different ways and opportunities to communicate. So I think through understanding each personality, and it ties back into that emotional intelligence, understanding the way they perceive information and the way they become aware and how you impact them makes all the difference in the world.
I like the phone. I like to pick the phone up, get the conversation over with, hang up and move on. That's just how I like to work. Get it done, check the list and move on. But yeah, you have to just kind of go with who's around you. And sometimes, yeah, you can get the younger generation, get them on board to help the older generation with some of the social media and, the apps and things like that. And it's interesting because one of the messages that I've heard over and over about COVID is so many people have learned new things. They've either taken the time to learn something new during their downtime, or they were forced to learn something new. So there's some good things coming out of the pandemic.
Well, I also think, what's interesting is no matter what happens, nothing will replace human interaction and a good old-fashioned conversation. Just like you said, Dory, what do you like to do? You like to pick up the phone and talk versus some people just like to text, right? Because they don't like that interaction. And so many people, they have their own private and personal insecurities, right? Each one of us do. Maybe you don't, Dory, but the majority of the population, somewhere inside of them have this insecurity and they act off of that insecurity. And so I think the one thing that this pandemic, although it's opening new doors of ways to communicate and ways to lead and manage, it's also hurting us, I think, with some ways that we articulate and communicate and socialize in real time, and the ability to the little things that we used to do to have a business meeting where you really interacted and connected with somebody. It's just not happening today. Even during Zoom, as much as we're connecting, it's different over video. The stimulus in your brain acts differently because I'm seeing an image versus, you in front of me in a 3D form. And so it definitely is interesting, and we're going through some unique times. And if we can learn to take the best of what we're learning through a pandemic, and then we can apply that to our post-pandemic, kind of pre-pandemic way we used to lead and apply that post-pandemic, we should be in a great place.
Get your pen ready now for Keep Me's Fit Bizpiration.
What are your 3 communication tips for any business owner dealing with a crisis, no matter the crisis size?
Well, Dory, I need some permission from you to break the rules a little bit because I got 4. Can I break the rules?
You have my permission.
Okay, thanks. I think, first of all, you got to develop a process of communication. So we've developed at UFC Gym a 6P strategy, which is to, when you go through any crisis, identify your people, make sure you understand that everybody's making money, because compensation plans have to change when you have no revenue coming in, right? So you have to be very flexible and adaptable as it comes to that. Understand how to maintain and sustain your products through the adversity that you're going through. And then remember, your presentation around those products are going to change. Once you establish all that, get a very good communication process in place to be able to help guide you through this pandemic. So that's number 1. Number 2 is just listen. Just learn how to listen to your customer, learn how to listen to your team member, to your managers, to your franchisees, and to your shareholders. If you learn how to listen to them, it allows you to adapt your thought process to effectively, hopefully, overcome any issues or challenges out there. The next one would be to learn and to really understand is that we don't know everything. During a pandemic, as an example, on March 20th, how much did we know about COVID-19? Not a lot. When it comes to how to operate a business safely, when it comes to messaging, when it comes to confidence of the team and the consumer, we didn't know a lot. And so the more you can learn about what's controllable and what's not controllable, the better position you'll be in to really have my last point, which is lead. And we can all be leaders. We can all be leaders through it. You don't need the title to lead. You need to have the right passion, and you have to be empathetic, and you have to be in position that you're going to be guided through this North Star, through the adversity, and do what it takes to make sure that you can make difficult decisions, but yet still be ingrained enough in what's relevant today to get through the adversity that we're going through.
Keep Me, smarter member retention. KeepMe.ai.
It's now time to get back to the show. So Adam, why don't you just tell us a little bit what's going on in the world of UFC gyms?
I'm excited. I'm excited about where UFC Gym's going within that opportunity. We're developing clubs all over the globe. We're opening 13 company-owned stores in the next 60 days. There's a lot on our plate. But the team that I have around me, the people that I have around me, the opportunity that I get to speak with people like you to continue to preach the message just puts us in an opportunity. Like I said before, is that 2020 is the year that will truly define me. It may define you, Dory, and it's definitely going to define our industry for success for later.
I'd like to thank Adam again for being a guest on the Fitness Business Podcast. Adam certainly expressed how communication plays an essential role in the success of a workplace. Leaders who know how to communicate effectively with those around them will see better productivity and improved relationships in every aspect of their lives. Now it's time for a message from our podcast partner, One Fit Stop.
One Fit Stop is modern fitness studio software built for the growing multi-location studio, providing scheduling, client management, programming, payment collection tools, and more that will set your business up to grow. To find out more, go to onefitstop.com or click on the link in today's show notes.
Quickfire 5.
Okay, let's find out who this week's Quickfire 5 guest will be. Today's Quickfire 5 guest is Crochet Holloway. Crochet is the CEO and president of Curves North America and Oceania. Crochet, welcome to the Fitness Business Podcast.
Thank you, Dory. I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah, we're excited to have you. It's like Girl Power Day.
Yes, it is.
All right. Are you ready for your quick fire 5 questions?
I think I'm ready.
All right, let's go. Number 1, who inspires you in life and why?
So my Curves team, most of my corporate staff and franchisees have a tenure of 15 plus years, and they have definitely been committed to the Curves mission of strengthening women. And we've grown together over the years. Their resilience and commitment as small business owners and their members and local community during COVID inspire me more than they will ever know.
Oh, well, how nice. That's a nice tribute to your staff. I like that. Number 2, why do you do what you do?
Well, as CEO and president, I help strengthen women's lives. And that's not just in the gym, but I help women become stronger business owners, better coaches, and stronger members. The woman is the center of most families. And as you know, when she feels better mentally and physically, everyone's happier. That old saying, if mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy, that really drives true.
Well said, and very much said in my family. So I got it. And number 3, if you were not doing what you are doing, what would you be doing, Crochet?
Well, if I wasn't able to be fishing and mating with my husband on his fishing charter, I have always been an entrepreneur and love business. So I would continue to help others learn how to start their business and their dreams. And I think many want to start, but they don't know how to start or how to overcome those obstacles.
I agree with you on that. It's always a hurdle for many people. They're nervous about getting started.
Yes, absolutely.
So what book, podcast, or Facebook group could you recommend for everybody out there listening today?
So one of my favorites is Michael Gerber's E-Myth. And as a small business owner, eMyth helps walk you through all the many hats that we wear as business owners, and also the strategies to help you with the planning and implementing of your business needs.
Okay, I have not read that one. I'm going to have to make sure I check it out.
Add that one to your list.
I sure will. And finally, what will be an action item the FBP family will take away from your main interview next week?
Yeah, so, Curves has been around for over 28 years, and really, you just can't rest on the history of your brand. You must evolve. Business models change, consumer buying habits change, and technology changes. So hopefully one of their takeaways will see how Curves has evolved over the last 28 years.
Here is a message from our proud podcast partner, MX Metrics.
Member experience is more than just NPS. With MXM's Member Experience Toolkit, you build a unified view of the member experience, from purchase to onboarding to everyday usage and cancellation. Wire your entire organization with actionable feedback using MXN's Member Experience Toolkit. To find out more, go to mxmetrics.com.
For more information about UFC Gyms and founder Adam Sedlack, head on over to our show notes at fitnessbusinesspodcast.com. Next up is a message from our founding partner, Active Management.
Hi FBP family, it's JT from Active Management, the founding partner of the Fitness Business Podcast. Thanks to the amazing technology at our fingertips, we can now work with clients all over the world. But right now, you can join the free online Active Management Facebook community. It's an amazing group of people just like you. Sure, I share weekly resources, but it's the power of the community that you will experience that will make this your go-to Facebook group. Remember, it's free, fun, and inspirational. Go to facebook.com/groups/Active Management Community.
What you leave behind is not what's engraved in stone monuments, but what is woven into the lives of others.